Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another Lotus Chat Worldwide episode. And I am one of your Lotus ladies here, Jen, here with Jazzy and Zian. And say hi, guys.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, welcome back.
Yes, and this episode is actually episode 66, Soulmates, Fact or Fiction. So yes, you probably have heard the term soulmates many, many times, whether through a book or even through movies, TV shows. I mean, the term is definitely, I would say, used quite often in many ways to describe that partner that is destined for you, is what the impression I've gotten from many of the things that I've seen and read. Now, let's rewind and go back in time. How in the world did that term even get into our vocabulary? Where did it come from? And I actually took a wonderful philosophy course in college where they discuss the Greek philosophers and playwrights and how they also came up with their, idea of what they call the split soul theory. And it's very interesting when you read about it because the split soul theory is an Egyptian Greek mythological belief that says that at one time humans existed as one entity, so one original soul. And humans that were basically fused together into one being where there was literally two people that were fused, kind of like this. They had 4 arms, 4 legs, and 2 faces. And one day the gods began to fear that humans were just too powerful as 2 fused beings into one, that they decided that we have to split you guys up because we're just afraid that you guys are just too powerful for us. And so Zeus decided to just split them down the middle. And that is where we get the term soulmate. And basically these 2 split human beings are meant to go through life looking for each other, no matter how far or how many lifetimes. And that is exactly the way the gods intended. And so that is where the term soulmate came from. And the Bible also has a similar kind of thing about two halves that started from one whole. If you think about the story of how Eve was created, taken from the rib of a man to create woman. And so that is why man and woman will always be connected in some way. And then we get into the myth of the red string, which is another one of my favorite myths that I grew up and learned about, where 2 souls are intertwined by this very, beautiful red string that ties their 2 hands, their 2 fingers together. And they are destined, no matter how far they are, no matter how the string pushes and pulls, they will always find a way back to each other. All beautiful examples of how soulmate theory has spread throughout time, throughout culture, throughout various, I would say, lifetimes, that now it has become so synonymous with all of us searching for the quote unquote, the one. Now, so let's start off with this very interesting question for all of us here today, which is, how do you know someone is your soulmate? And I'm going to have Jazzy take a stab at this one.
How do I know someone's my soulmate? So it's interesting that you share about where it comes from and it being like this one oversoul that was split into 2, because in my model of the world, I could also view that as like a twin flame union that's separated. In the greater scheme of things, I believe that we are all a part of this one consciousness. And this is what allows us to be able to feel connected to everyone around us. So in that instance, we get to experience like the resonance between one another. So when it comes to like soulmates, I find and I feel that like soulmates can be like your relatives, it could be your circle of friends. It could be someone that you just meet and you feel like you've known them for a long time. I find that that's a resonant sort of energy, so that in a way it could be a soulmate, which would soulmates to me could be an abundance of people, like a number of people, rather than just this defined like one person. Because my brain wants to compartmentalize that. I feel like a twin flame is that person that you get to go through those experiences with on a deeper sort of intimate level. And then like soulmates are those that you find connections and relationship with that are dear to your heart and that you just vibe with. So
I like that, Jazzy. Same vibe. That's a good way to kind of put it. And I think a lot of times when people talk about soulmates, it is someone that, you know, you have this very deep connection with. And when I say connection, it also means that you would have invested a lot of time to communicate, and also time to get to know each other in such a way that you will be able to know that, you know, this could be a soulmate. But I also believe that, you know, sometimes to answer Jen's question, there's not only one soulmate in your entire life, there are multiple soulmates. But because of time, sometimes these soulmates appear at specific periods of your life. And then maybe they be like unsoulmate for a while. And then, you know, they appear in different soulmates again, you know, just because we just don't have time for so many soulmates at the same time. I don't know about you girls, but I don't have the time for like multiple soulmates at the same time. So I think, I also think that different people in our life kind of connects to our different parts of our soul. And for me, I'll give you an example. Like when I hear the word soulmate, on top of my mind, it's actually definitely my best friend. I nicknamed her Goldfish, and she came like into my mind because although we are very far apart, but we are connected in that way. It also means that both of us invested a lot of time back in uni, and continuously, like we speak and we message each other a lot. That kind of adds to that, time built into this soulmate. But then, like, I also think about my two daughters as my soulmates. Although we do not connect from an adult level and we do not speak about a lot of topics that, adults usually speak, but whenever we communicate, I feel that we are a part of like souls that were trying to talk to each other, but just at different level. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense, Zian. Totally. And I'm glad that you brought that up. And Zian, I also like love how you explain that your friend is your soulmate. And you can tell your friend is because of just how connected you guys are, no matter how far apart you are. And I think that can go for like even brothers and sisters. Like if you're really close with them, I mean, those are individuals who are connected to you at such a deep level that no matter where you guys are in the world, you guys will always have each other. And I think also we can think about, as Jazzy said, the collective consciousness. I feel like the term soulmate can really encompass so many people in our lives who come into our lives, because we are all energetically connected. I mean, the soul itself is basically energy. It is like the essence of you. You can exist without your body. Your body is just the vessel for your soul. And when, your time comes and you leave this world, it's beautiful how your soul can come and become another form, another beautiful form. The soul actually never dies if it really is energy. And, that's another scientific thing, that when we look at the butterfly effect, how beautiful it is that scientifically we are all connected, even in the dimension that we're in, where if one thing happens to a single butterfly, it can have this ripple effect in the environment of all the flora and the fauna within where that butterfly lives. Very similar to humans, I think, where if we really think about ourselves as a collective consciousness, a collective being, one soul, then what I do today can affect somebody tomorrow. And I welcome all our viewers and listeners out there. If you resonate with any of this, to please comment down below and let us know, because I know that these things can come up, and especially with so much going on in the world, we can oftentimes ask ourselves, does that person really care if something were to happen to me, or if this and this happens? The truth of the matter is, I think, with our family and our friends around us, our support system, that is a beautiful soul tribe that we've created with ourselves. And that is in itself a soul connection, which is a soulmate bond. So that takes us to our next question. Can we say that the person that we are with, the significant other that we are with, is truly necessarily that soulmate, the one, as some people might say? What do you think, Zian?
I think if you are lucky, that person can be a soulmate, and you should be feeling really blessed if that happens. And if it's not, it also does not mean that that person is not your partner. So I think there is a possibility that your partner is not your soulmate, and that's okay, because you are partners in life and in different aspects of life, but it doesn't mean that, that could be your soulmate. Yeah. What do you think, Jessie?
Well, subjectively, I find that I feel like your partner is your soulmate, like who you choose to be in relationship with, no matter what time and point in your experience that you're with someone. I feel like that is your soulmate of that season or lifetime, because that is who you're paired up with. That is who you're exchanging your energetic resonance or dissonance with. There's still something to learn from. And so I feel like that connection within itself and choosing that conscious decision to be in relationship would make you guys soulmated or fated to be together, either by choice or chance. What about you, Jen?
Wow. I love what you both said. And Jazzy, yes. I like that you said choice or chance, because I feel sometimes I think some of us have come to believe about soulmates that it is like this predestined thing that we have no control over, that, we have, we are meant to go through that soulmate connection, and it's supposed to go whatever way it's supposed to go, and we can't control it. We can't choose to be in connection with them once we find this soulmate. But the reality of it is yes, we are put into the paths of people to learn something, to grow, to expand our consciousness, whatever it is that you get out of that connection. But I also think that you also have control over how long that connection exists too. I feel if you have received all the lessons that you acknowledge, yeah, it's the stopping point. It's time for us to move on and come into other people's lives and touch their souls, because that's what a soulmate is. You're touching someone's soul, and it's beautiful that sometimes both beautiful and bittersweet that sometimes those connections don't last, because you are meant to connect with someone else at a different time of life, a different season. We all grow, we all mature, we all get older. The wisdom that you gain from each person. I would have to say every single person that has come into my life, I've learned something, even if it was the smallest thing about myself and about life. And I'm at a point where I know, like, wow, like this person's going to be powerful. Like I could already tell that you're going to teach me something really good, and you're going to have me get into the deepest parts of me. And as hard as I know it's going to hurt when whether or not this ends or not, I'm going to be grateful for it. And I'm at a point where I'm like, oh no, like I know this isn't going to go anywhere. What's even the point? I think there is a point. And it's time for us to accept, like, even the difficult relationships that we have, there is something that that's going to come from it. There are some people who say, well, like I said, does it mean that if I end up in a very abusive relationship, was that a soulmate I was supposed to meet? And I'd like to say it's someone that came into your life that helped you find your strength as a woman or a man in the connection. I'd like to say that it's teaching you more about having a voice and knowing the stopping point and knowing when it's time to get away and to choose yourself. So I don't think anyone should think that you're a victim of a soulmate connection that is abusive. I think you should come out of there and just know that you have a support system and you can get yourself out. Again, it's a choice, like Jazzy said. You don't have to keep yourself in something that's unhealthy. What do you think, Jazzy?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm jumping to say this inside because I wanted to introduce the possibility, the perspective of relationships that are like that have the possibility or serve as a big teacher as being a soul contract. And soul contracts come in to teach you something as such. And it's this theory that before we incarnate into earth, we have our souls on a different plane have decided that we were going to learn courage. We're going to learn our voice. We're going to learn how to stand in dignity and integrity. And so with these lessons, with these aspirations come these lessons. And sometimes they come in forms of like bad relationships or things that feel very disconcerting or uncomfortable, which allow, for whatever reason, might we be a voice to the journey of those who overcame abuse. We got to be brave and things like that. So we're going to talk about that more in our next episode about soul contracts. So definitely, I feel like a lot of relationships come into your life to teach you something. And whether or not it's a small or big lessons, I feel like it's a contract. So.
Jazzy, thank you for saying that. Zian, I would love for you to give your perspective on the soul contracts, because I think you gave that beautiful contrast to that too.
Yes, because when you girls was talking about soul contracts, it was like pretty much my first time hearing that. And I've heard of bits and pieces about, archetypes, but never in that way that it was presented in soul contract. And the first time when I hear the word contract, it sounds to me like it is something that both parties agree. But then as I hear it further, it doesn't sound like it was like a mutual agreement to be in the same situation. That's why, when we spoke about it, I said that maybe sometimes it's like an encounter, like you encounter someone, whether willingly or not willingly, but, by chance and by opportunity, you just meet that person at that point of your life, and it is designed to teach you a lesson. Just like how people say life brings different people into your life to teach you a lesson, and hopefully you can take away a lesson that you could take away from that. And then this soul or this person moves on from your life. They don't necessarily stay.
Oh, yeah. And thank you for putting in that beautiful contrast to even those words, soul contract. I think soul encounters is what I would describe one of my most difficult relationships, where there was a form of emotional, I'm going to say, abuse in it. And in that sense, I when I say soul contract, I understand it. But when I hear the word soul encounter, it sits with me a little bit more in, it was an encounter for my soul to teach me how to have a voice, to teach me to stand up for myself, to teach me that I was not the words and the things that this person was telling me to make me feel small, to make me feel like I was not enough. And I'm grateful for that soul encounter. And I'm, like I said, if it was not for him, I wouldn't have realized what I want in a partner even more, like what I want to have in terms of like my husband and a life. He made it more clear for me. And that's what soulmates really are. I think they provide that clarity with each person that you meet. And it's beautiful, because as things get clearer, the picture of the way that you would like your life to come out, it becomes even more and more clear. It's what I can think and say about that. So Zian, Jazzy, now that we've kind of gone through what a soulmate is, what it means, the other thing I wanted to explain are soul connections and the different types of those, just to kind of bring it full circle. As we mentioned, soulmates could be anybody, friend, family, love, significant other, even a pet. Some people say could be a soulmate. And being a human soul incarnated into like your pet or something like that. It's this beautiful thing how the soul can move from different things and into different things. And you will know when you've met a soul connection, a significant one, because you'll know, oh, this person is going to teach me something, or loving this person is going to teach me something. But anyways, for all of you out there, if you resonate with the word soulmate, if you feel you're with your soulmate, please let us know in the comment section below, because I would love to just hear more about your own story. We would love to hear about how you feel about that term itself and soul contracts. And we'll be talking a lot more about that next week. Deanne, Jazzy, do you guys have any last thoughts on that?
No, happy to close.
No. Well, I guess the only thing is, if whether you find yourself soulmated to one person or view it as being many people, I feel like the greatest overarching lesson you could implement, or wisdom that you could implement there, is to be grounded in unconditional love and non-attachment to the label of what it might be, and just be the love that you are authentically anyway, whatever that looks like, because our relationships will teach us, and our environments will allow us to be able to pivot. And usually with soulmates, I feel like it's always a safe space to just be yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the everything. So love your soulmates. And for our next episode, we'll actually be diving in to soul contracts and archetypes, which is going to be very interesting, because it's a theory that is kind of coming up, but I know that it's not quite popularized just yet, but it kind of deepens what soulmates are as well. And we invite you back. So if you like this or think that it's interesting, please share, and make sure if you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment, or you can send it to our Gmail at lotuschatworldwide@gmail.com. Thank you so much for joining us. So glad to have you. Bye.
Bye.